For much of American history, shrimp was a rare treat, mostly enjoyed along the coasts. In places like New Orleans or Charleston, shrimp was woven into local dishes, gumbo, jambalaya, or simply boiled with spices. These shrimp were wild, caught by local boats from the Gulf or Atlantic, their flavor a true taste of the sea. Inland, shrimp was a luxury, often only available canned or poorly frozen. For most Americans, shrimp was a vacation indulgence, not a weeknight staple. The shrimping industry was small and family-run, its fortunes tied to the tides and seasons. Some days brought full nets, others nearly empty ones. Scarcity was part of shrimp's identity. The price reflected this, making shrimp a food for special occasions. This system defined America's relationship with shrimp for generations. The catch was limited by nature and the number of boats, keeping the ecosystem in balance. People savored each bite, knowing it was a fleeting pleasure. Shrimp was a symbol of indulgence, a wild taste brought to your plate through hard labor. The American shrimp experience was about place, season, and the unpredictability of the sea. It was a sustainable model, in its own way. The wild catch was finite, and everyone knew it. This was the world before the global shrimp boom. Shrimp was not just food, it was a connection to the ocean and the people who worked it. The idea of eating shrimp regularly would have seemed extravagant. All of this was about to change. The stage was set for a revolution in how Americans would eat shrimp. In the late 20th century, America's appetite for shrimp exploded. Prosperity and travel exposed more people to shrimp, turning it from a coastal secret into a national craving. Shrimp was seen as healthy, versatile, and easy to cook, perfect for the modern American table. Restaurants, especially chains like Red Lobster, made shrimp accessible everywhere. Endless shrimp promotions turned it into an all-you-can-eat phenomenon. Shrimp became a symbol of affordable luxury. By the 1980s and 90s, shrimp was everywhere: pasta, stir-fries, barbecues, and cookbooks. Home cooks embraced frozen shrimp, making it a weeknight staple. The demand soared, but the domestic supply couldn't keep up. American shrimpers couldn't catch enough to satisfy the nation's appetite. Wild shrimp populations had natural limits. Fishing harder wasn't an option. A gap formed between what Americans wanted and what American waters could provide. This gap set the stage for a global revolution in shrimp supply. The market was primed for change. The American shrimp story was about to go global. The craving for shrimp was undeniable, and the industry needed a new solution. The small, seasonal American fleet couldn't keep up. The next chapter would be written far from American shores. The demand for shrimp was about to reshape the world's seafood industry. The shrimp revolution was just beginning. America's appetite would change everything. The American shrimping fleet faced a challenge it couldn't overcome. Shrimpers hunted a wild animal, limited by nature and unpredictable catches. Overfishing threatened the resource, making steady supply impossible. High costs, fuel, maintenance, fair wages kept prices up. American shrimp was a premium product, but consumers wanted it cheap and abundant. Environmental regulations like turtle excluder devices added costs and complexity. Competing with foreign producers who didn't follow the same rules was nearly impossible. The industry was caught in a perfect storm: high costs, limited supply, and rising expectations. The American fleet simply couldn't meet the nation's growing appetite. The market demanded more than wild shrimpers could provide. The stage was set for a new source of shrimp. The world was about to change for American shrimpers. The demand was there, but the supply would come from elsewhere. The American fleet was outmatched by global forces. The next wave of shrimp would not come from the sea. The industry's future would be decided far from American waters. The old way of shrimping was at its limit. A new era was about to begin. The answer to America's shrimp shortage came from shrimp farms, not the sea. Across Asia and Latin America, shrimp farming, raising shrimp in man-made ponds, took off. Warm climates and cheap land made these countries ideal for aquaculture. Shrimp were raised in controlled ponds, fed special diets, and harvested in predictable cycles. This factory-like process produced massive quantities of shrimp at low cost. Shrimp farming was a game-changer: abundant, consistent, and affordable. By the 1980s and 90s, farmed shrimp flooded the global market. Governments and investors fueled the boom, seeing economic opportunity. A global supply chain emerged, shipping billions of frozen shrimp to the U.S. The era of farmed shrimp had begun. Wild American shrimp now faced a powerful, cheap competitor. The seafood landscape was transformed almost overnight. The American plate would never be the same. the shrimp revolution was in full swing. Imported shrimp won the American market with price, availability, and convenience. Farmed shrimp from overseas was far cheaper than wild-caught American shrimp. Year-round production meant a steady, reliable supply. Supermarkets and restaurants could always count on having shrimp in stock. Imported shrimp arrived peeled, deveined, cooked, and frozen, ready to use. Convenience made it easy for busy families to cook shrimp at home. The combination of low price and ease of use was irresistible. Cheap, abundant shrimp flooded the market, pushing American wild shrimp aside. The imports didn't just compete, they changed what Americans expected shrimp to be. The battle for the American plate was over before it began. Imported shrimp became the new standard. The consequences rippled through the entire food system. The American shrimp industry would never recover its old dominance. The market had been transformed by global forces. The story of shrimp was now a global one. The age of cheap imported shrimp had arrived. Imported shrimp reshaped the American grocery store and restaurant menu. The freezer aisle overflowed with shrimp, raw, cooked, breaded, and ready to eat. Shrimp became a loss leader, drawing customers with low prices. Restaurants offered shrimp dishes at prices once unthinkable. The classic shrimp cocktail became a standard appetizer made with farmed shrimp. The connection to the ocean and tradition faded. Americans grew used to cheap, abundant shrimp everywhere. The story behind the shrimp was lost, replaced by convenience. The subtle flavor of wild shrimp gave way to the milder taste of farmed varieties. Texture, often enhanced with additives, became the main selling point. The American palate adapted to the new, engineered shrimp. The old standards faded as new expectations took hold. Shrimp was now a product of industry, not the sea. The low price of imported shrimp hid serious environmental and human costs. Mangrove forests were destroyed to build shrimp ponds, harming coastal ecosystems. Pollution from shrimp farms created dead zones in nearby waters. Heavy antibiotic use in crowded ponds contributed to global resistance problems. Labor abuses, including forced labor and child labor, plagued parts of the industry. The true cost of cheap shrimp was paid by distant workers and damaged environments. U.S. regulators could only inspect a tiny fraction of imports. Shrimp treated with banned chemicals often slipped through the cracks. The American staple was not as clean or simple as it seemed. The convenience came with hidden baggage. The story of shrimp was now one of global consequences. Every bag of shrimp carried an invisible cost. The price at the register told only part of the story. The shrimp revolution created winners and losers. For American eaters, shrimp became affordable and accessible everywhere. It was no longer a luxury, but a staple for millions. For American shrimpers, the story was very different. They couldn't compete with cheap imports, many left the industry. Coastal communities lost a way of life tied to the sea. The demand for cheap food disconnected eaters from the source. The environmental and social costs were outsourced overseas. The American consumer got a deal, but the price was paid elsewhere. The story of shrimp is a story of disconnection. We lost touch with the ocean, the fishers, and the true cost of our food. The plate of cheap shrimp and the empty net are two sides of the same coin. The transformation was profound and often painful. The global shrimp market changed everything. Today, imports dominate the American shrimp market, but a small movement is growing for domestic wild-caught shrimp. Some consumers seek out local shrimp for its flavor and sustainability. Surviving American shrimpers market directly to buyers, telling their story. Regional branding, like Key West Pinks, emphasizes quality and origin. It's a fight for survival and the soul of American seafood. Meanwhile, certification programs aim to improve global shrimp farming. Standards for water quality, feed, and labor are slowly taking hold. The future may blend better farming abroad with a stronger local market. Ultimately, the choice is ours. We can demand the cheapest shrimp, or pay more for a product that supports communities and healthy oceans. Every bite has a story. The future of shrimp in America depends on the choices we make.